Good afternoon, students. Today we will see the leftover topics of the virtualization tools, and also we will see the resources what we are using on virtualization, how these virtualizations can be achieved in its own one, because we are considering hardware devices, processors, memory management, memories, and then IO devices. All these are considered. In this session, we will discuss some of the resources which is having the support of the virtualization into an account. Before going to that thing, I would like to finish this binary translation. In this translation, we use the full virtualization and host-based virtualization also. And then we discuss some topics about para-virtualization. What is the difference between full and para-virtualizations? After that, we go for the two resources what we are using now. First one is the CPU, and then next one is the memory virtualization. So first, binary translation. So this binary translation would be achieved by two ways. One is the full virtualization, and the another one is the host-based virtualization. So here, what is the full virtualization and what all these things considered is, first it has been discovered or been introduced by IBM in the year 1966. And what is the this approach, or what it is specifying here is, while using this binary translation or anything with the full virtualization, there is no need to modify the host operating system, because when you are trying to access the guest operating systems into an account, there should be what you have to do is nothing but there should be a conversion, or there should be a alteration, whether to our host operating system or the guest operating system we need to consider. So here what the full virtualization specifies here is, there is no need to modify your host operating system, because everything what you are specifying will be taken care by the binary translation mechanism, or the modulation, or the emulator we are using for our processing. So here we are having guest operating systems into an account, because when you are taking virtualization into an account, there it lies guest operating systems came into an account. So I gave several examples and then several diagrammatical representations where we can use multiple operating systems into an account when we are dealing with a virtualization concept. If we are specifying the guest operating systems into an account, these operating systems and the applications what they are supporting will consist of critical instructions, or sometimes we can specify it as a non-critical instructions. Why so we are specifying the critical instructions here is, the critical instructions are divided into three types. So what the critical instructions are, which are based on the behavior, or sometimes you can say privileged instructions, and sometimes we can specify them control sensitive instructions. Means what are the critical instructions can be, means privileged instructions means which has the privileges to access the memory spaces, or to access the file what you are giving. And then control sensitive instruction means the instruction what you are using has some control to be executed by that one. And then third one is the behavior sensitive instruction. So here the behavior sensitive instructions means, depending upon your usage of the configuration of resources, means you have to load the operation, or you have to store the operation, or you have to compute the operation. Based on that one, means here the operation will be decided by the what is the configuration of the resource what you are using it. So based on these type of the instructions, what it is doing, it is allowing the guest operating system to make the changes or not. So when you are dealing with host based systems, that is when you are having host based systems, you should use host operating system and also guest operating system for processing. And what you are specifying here is what it will take care on, how we are going to handle all these things here is, likewise I said, we need to install here, we need to maintain a virtualization layer, which has been built in between these guest operating system and host operating systems has been specified there. So likewise, what it is doing, we are supporting this for full virtualization, because whatever the non-critical instructions what you are using, you will be run on these hardware which is you are supporting, means guest operating system will take the privilege to run on the hardware. When dealing with the critical instructions, means if it is a behavior or the control or privileged oriented one, what it has to do here is it needs to replace these instruction execution with the software traps or the traps what you are specified by the hypervisor or virtual machine, that is monitor VMM or anything. So how we are going to do here is to consider the full virtualization into an account. What we have to do is we need to take these non-critical instructions what you are using has to be identified first, and then critical instructions will be identified. So these non-critical instructions will be executed by the host operating system, but the critical instructions will be executed by the hardware there itself only by the host operating system. How we are going to know, or how we are going to done all these things here is, so here this is the structure of your thing. That is a virtual, what is the virtualization we are using in the full, that is a full virtualization here is, it is having the ring like structure, ring 0, ring 1, ring 2, ring 3, and then underneath one is for the hypervisor, and above one is for the guest operating system. Means whether you are using Windows based one here, it could be Linux, Solaris, or any type of FreeBSD, anything will be included here. So how it is going to execute? First thing, the user applications are there. If you are considering the user applications into an account, there could be direct executions of user requests to these host computer system hardware whenever they are indicating these non-critical instructions, because there is no need to specify any control, any behavior, anything. What they are doing is simply they are trying to execute and trying to connect with these hardware directly. But when you are dealing with critical one, what it has to do is nothing but the guest operating system has to raise the request to this hypervisor or the monitor, and this monitor will take care of all these things and go on. So between this process, what you have to do is nothing but we need to translate the request here. How we are going to translate the request? This is the binary translation. How we are going to translate the request here? So I'm taking one example. I hope you understand. I will understand here. So this is an example which is taking several variables are there. The count n, and then next we are using a loop here, and we are using a if condition also here. So how it is going to execute? So first we will see what is the process it is changing, or what it is the process is containing. We will see. So first, what are the data elements we will see. So first the data elements are count and n. Count is initialized to 0, but n is not initialized, but that is left there only. This is a part of a code mark. And then next we are seeing some logical operations what you are using in your total program. So for the first representation means first one is don't have any operations here, arithmetic or logical, but in the second one you are using another representation, but it is a comparison. You are not performing any operations here, it is a comparison, so that's why it is not using here. So coming to the third one, we are using count plus plus, and then next here we are using n into 3, and you are providing n by 3, and you are also providing here n and 1. If it is n value is there and it is 1, what it is showing, it is logical operation is performing. So logical operation is identified. So what are the arithmetic operations? So it is using the plus symbol, and it is using multiplication, and then next it is providing another one. So here we need to provide all these things into an account. So after calculating this only, what it is doing, it will store into this one. Okay. So first we need to identify all these things. After that, results comparison here. So here we are taking two conditions into an account. While is indirectly using if n is greater than 1, then only you will execute that one. If n is 1, that is a non-zero element or the 0, means what you will do, what you have to do, stop there itself. And how you are going to changing the flow of your control means whenever you are losing, there is a, if the n value is greater than 1, what you have to do, you have to end the while loop. If that one is 1, so back to the beginning of the loop, like that we need to specify. So that is the instructions what you are having, what we have learned from the instruction. So after that one, see here, what are the registers I want to take to store the values here. So I am specifying the registers with the symbol percentage, and I am taking the two different registers as a EDX and ECX. So remember this one, EDX and the ECX I am taking. What is the EDX? Indirectly it is representing the N value, and ECX is representing the count value. So after that, so we need to study about your program. So far how I am going to study about your program, continuously I can't study my program. So what I am doing is I am step by step, I want to study my program, and I am translating my program here. How I am going to translate here? See, count is equals to 0. Simply what it is specifying. So this is the direct, that is one what you are taking. This is the source instruction. But what it is specifying here is, it is specifying a target instruction, that is move the value. What is the value here? $0 into the ECX. Why it is ECX here? We are using the count, that is a dollar percentage ECX for the count, percentage EDX for the N. So that's why what you have to do here, whenever you are saying the count, what you have to represent there, you need to represent the register value. Okay. First, target the value. Sorry. First, know the target instructions of the count. Next, count is equals to 0 means what you have to do, we need to move this $0 value into the counter, that is a value register what you are considering ECX. And again, where you have the count 1. So here in the third instruction, I have the count variable, and what I am performing there, I am adding one variable to the count value. So how I am going to add here is, add the value. What is the value I have to add? Count is equals to count plus 1. Indirectly it is specifying 1 has to be added there. So $1 has to add it to the whose value, already there is a value in this count. So that's why $ECX has been specified. So what it is doing is, where it came from. Where it came from means where it has been read directly, because you know count plus means count is equals to count plus 1. So there you have been read this one. And why you have taken this consideration here is, we need to take the target instructions into an account. See here, what are the left side representations are the source instructions, and what are the right side here are the target instructions. In the previous class also, some classes I described the what is a binary translation means. Simply you are taking a program. I took the example C is equals to A plus B. If the C is equals to A plus B, what I have to do, first I need to take the A value into account, and then next B value into an account, and then I need to add the A plus B. After that we need to store, that is the C value. So if the C value is already having some value, what you have to do, we need to take this clear and then next add these things. So first what we are doing, we are taking this one into the account. Next one. So we are considering what are the computations we are using. Any computations are there, we are seeing here. So the first one what you are taking here is the indirect that is computations. What you are specifying here is, we are taking into an account N and 1. So what is the N value there? EDX. And what you are taking here is we are taking another register value, move. What you are specifying the EDX into the EX, and then next what you are doing, you need to add one value there. That is, sorry, not add. We need to compare these things into the our $1. So we need to see whether this EDX is having the value of 1 or not. So how we are going to perform here? We need to take the value of N into the another register, and then what you have to do is we need to perform the logical and between these two. So this is the indirect way of that one. So this is the source instruction, and this is the target instruction. We need to take into an account. What is that? Is a binary translation. So here we are taking the source instruction. The source instruction is simply NN1, but it's not the NN1. What you have to do there, take there, we need to take into the another register, and then next we need to compare this one with this logical AND. So we need to do all these things into an account. And coming to this one, next instruction is there. Why I didn't covered while loop means afterwards we will go for the while loop. So first instruction, second instruction, and going for the third instruction. So I am taking this fifth line, that is a fourth instruction, as a specified one. What I am taking here, n is equals to n into 3 plus 1. Okay. So first, what you have to do, we need to move this data into the another one. So first EDX, what is the EDX value now? We don't have any value because count is equals to 0, n is not having any value, that is represented as a null here. So here n is specified, n what it is, n is used in the $ex value, and then next add the value of the ex, and then next EDX there. After that, what you are doing here is you are getting these. So continuously we are adding or continuously we are multiplying. These steps has to be done when you are doing this simple step here. Simple things when you are comparing. And coming to n divided by 2. So here why I am taking this one here is CMA shift right by 1. So what it is, this one is the shift right by 1 here. So if we are comparing, performing this one, this could be very easy and cheaper than the division, and it takes only less amount of the time to perform. So what it has to do is nothing but it has to read the functions or read the things, and also has to provide the that is the cheaper operations or anything for your processing. So that's about your variables or the functions what you are using. So first, what you have to do, we need to take the flow into an account. How you are going to take the flow into an account means what are the flow things what you have in program. So first one is a while, and then one is the if. So we need to identify what this one. So any jump instructions are there, anything. Indirectly, they are not indicating any jump instructions. Indirectly, they are indicating. Directly, they are not indicating any jump instructions. Why so? Because if you want to execute this one, n is equals to n into plus 1, n into 3 plus 1, what you have to do, you need to, take this condition into an account. It must be true, then only it is allowing to execute. If it is not true, what you are doing, you are changing your execution from this point to this point. What it is doing, it is changing. That is from here to here, jumping into here. That is you are performing one action. What is a jump action? So first we need to know what are the jump instructions in your program. Okay. After that, we will, by finding all these things, we will have to execute in such a way that they won't miss any instructions, any operations or any arithmetic operations while execution. So here, how I am going to do here? Well, comparison. So comparison means if it is not done, where I have to do, where I have to go here, I have to go for the end of the loop. If it is failed, see here, if it is failed, where I have to go here from this one. So if here I am highlighting this one also. This one and this one are directly related. Why it is the red one? This one brace also, closed brace are in this color means when you are not satisfying this condition, what you are doing, you are directly coming to this endpoint. So this is also your instruction, jump instruction we need to consider. So when you are comparing the value that is not greater than 1, that is if it is 0 or any negative value, what it has to, it should be jump to the end loop. So what is the JLE here is the jump when less than 0. Less than 0 means jump. J stand for jump, L is for the, LE is the less than 0. And for the logical operation and comparing, where you are using logical operation and comparison, like that you will have. So when you are comparing two integers into an account, it will come to into an account. So if the jump is, if whenever you are having the result was 0, what it is doing, it is taking into the else. So see here, what it is doing, n is 1 and then next it is 1. Then only what it is doing, it is trying to execute. Whenever you are going to get the value n is 0, what it is has to do, it has to go for the else one. So that's why when it is equals to 0, JE, jump when it is equals to 0 to where else. Where I have to jump here, where I have to continue my execution from else point. So these are the things we need to consider. So the next one is the unconditional branch of when you are using the jump ND for the jump loop, then you will specify all these things. So after that, go for the next one. So we are taking these labels which is having the loop execution. How I am going to execute the loop? So if I am taking while n greater than 1, okay, what I have to do? I have to start a loop, okay. After that, what I have to do? First, I need to compare the value with the value of the resistor. So first value, first with which I have to compare? I have to compare the first value, one value with n value. What is the n value here? N is stored in the resistor EDX. So I have to get the value of the EDX, percentage EDX, and then next it is compared. If it is not satisfied, what it has to do, it will go for the end of the loop, okay. So here we are specifying a label. So the label here is loop. It is starting of your loop. If you are failing in this one, in this comparison, what you have to do, you have to go for the another label which is situated here. If you see where I am placing this spotlight, the end loop is situated here. The end loop is closing brace, okay. So what it is specifying, if the EDX is less than or equals to 0 or not. If it is less than or equals to 0, what it is doing, it should be stopped by there itself. Or sometimes you will say that if you are having negative values also, you will stop there itself only. I hope you are getting, ma'am. So next, what I have to do, comparison is done. So I am executing my program. So how I am going to execute means these empty space will take care of the instructions which we have been discussed in the earlier slides. So this will be executed. So here, after executing, what we will do, we will again go for the loop point. So that's why we have taken jump to the loop, okay. After that, what we are doing, again we are comparing, and again it is checking. If it is not satisfying the condition, it will go for the end loop, okay. So that's the execution or the indirect or the target instructions of your while loop. And then next, this is the program. So I likewise I said the empty space will be filled with the instructions which has been discussed earlier. So these are the instructions. So here count is equals to 0, move this value into this one, and then next count plus n and 1, n is equals to 3 plus 1. All these things has to be done. If you, I will see that you are getting the doubt that why we are not using this one, multiplication, we have the mul. So here what the purpose is, we need to use the cheaper instructions. There is no need to perform the multiple things which are making costly here, cost effective one. So we need to take the instructions which are using or which are performing our things very easily, not making our things tough to execute. So we are replacing some what you are having instructions or the anything by the cheapest way, because here we see why I am using shift 1, that is a shift right 1 in the place of division, means it is cheaper to use this one when compared with the division, okay. So the whenever you are using comparison here, when you are satisfying this condition, you will be able to execute any of this one. So either it is a if or if any other one, okay. So if you are not satisfying this one, you will simply go to your end loop label and stop the execution there itself. So that's about first one. And coming to the second one. So what is this one? Second one you are having here is, so first we need to satisfy the if condition. For if condition, if then block. So if, what you have to go, then you need to execute the then block, and then next you will go for the, if it is not executed, then you go for the else block. So first we will see what is if is specifying. So first these are all explained. What you are taking the value of n into the EAX, and you are comparing the one value 1 with the EAX value if they are equal. That is, if it is not 1, means if it is 0 or any negative number, what it is doing, it is not allowing to execute this one. Then what it is specifying, when you are not satisfying this condition, logical and condition, then into to go, you have the chance to go to the else one, jump when it equals to 0, when it is equals to 0 ma, when you are getting the value is equals to 0, what you are doing, you are going to the that is else part. So what could be the value of 1 here, n here, it could be 0 or 1. Okay, so if it is not like that, what you will do, you will execute the if block, that is the then block, and then next you will go for the end if. You are go for the jump and if, and then next again you will go for the jump, that is loop will be there. So if you are not satisfying this condition, what you will do, you will go for the else block. So here the things will be there in this schema. So these are the things we need to consider. So here in the else block, what we need to do, we need to multiply into 3 and then next add with the 1. If it is not like that, we need to divide with the by 2. So here by shifting this one, you will get the same value. So after that, what I said, by end if where I have to go, I have to go to the loop here. You are not ending the loop here. There is a possibility of going to the loop again. So that's why what it is giving, if when you are ending the then block or when you are ending the else block, what it is specifying, go for the end if. What it is having, jump to the loop. So what I am to do, I have to do, I go for the another time loop label, and I have to compare and I have to add, all these things has to be performed again and again. Okay, so here that is, I said, what it is doing, we can replace this with this end loop, because jump loop. Why? Because you are taking multiple instructions to execute. So this is your complete program when you are trying to execute here. So I am taking n is equals to EDX, count is equals to ECX. So these are the things you need to consider. So what is the source program? Left side one, what you are having, that is the source instruction. And then next you are having some instructions which is on the right side. So these are called as the target instructions. I hope you got some clarification among this, because in yesterday's class also I explained, but you don't have some examples to see these type of representations. So that's why I'm using this example here. So here we are using this type of representation to process. So here what it is specifying is, this is the binary translation methodology, what you are using when we compare with this one. So if you go for this diagram in your this one, what is a binary translation of operating systems request here is, whatever the instructions you have been found here will be translated into that one. So I hope you see again this representation. So this one is this one, what you are choosing, count means you have to know, you have stored this value into that one. So storing, loading, all these operations are not there. What you have to, you move this value to this one, because you have to store completely for this particular amount of the time permanently. That's why we are storing this one. So these are the things. I hope you got this in an understandable manner. So that's why we are using the binary translation. For what we are mentioning, for any instruction is there, what we have to do, we need to take care of the instructions in the name of the using binary translation. What the binary translation is doing here, the binary translation is taking the sum of the instructions into an account. This binary translation will be emulated. Means emulation means the behavior of these instructions, what you are providing, will be and acts as a means same one only. So that's why we are using this one into an account. So that's about binary translation example. So in host based virtualization, so here what you have to do here is, we need to take in this virtualization both these host based and these guest host and the guest operating system will involve into the work here. So how we are going to process, how we are going to take into an account here is, we are taking an example, that is here I am representing in this diagram, a bold one here is there. So that one is the logical volume manager, that is LVM. What it is doing here is, it will take care of the things what you are using in this one. So the first one, what we need to do here, the applications what you are using will be installed, means the guest operating system what you are using will be installed on the top of your system, that is a virtualization layer. Likewise, in the previous diagram, in the previous diagram, how it is going to install, how it is installed is on the top of that one only, in the guest operating system. And then what it is doing is, it is allowing the user to run these things into an account. When you are considering these host-based means architecture into an account, we take some advantages here. In that, first one is any virtual machine what you are using will be installed without modifying the host operating system. Sometimes when you are using virtualization, we need to make the modifications to our operating system to enact the executions and to provide the environment which is supportable for the guest operating system. And in this one, when you are compared with these host and then full virtualization, the host is allowing an user no need to modify your operating system, because I am allowing guest operating system to access and to execute, to involve in execution. So whenever the second advantage is, whenever you are using this approach, what you have to do is nothing but we need to take this performance into an account. So if this, when you are compared with these hypervisor or any full virtualization, so it takes low when you are compared with that one. But the advantage is, it is a cost effective one. Why? Because we are not making any changes to our operating system here. We're not installing anything here. We are taking instruction set level architecture, that is ISK level virtualization into an account. And what you are doing is, we are performing the binary translation into this one. So however, the performance what you are specifying is low, but there is a chance of using this one, because it's not a cost effective one when we compared with the other one. So here we are taking another example. I hope you understand why, because I explained the previous one, because here I am using directly ECX and EDI, all these things are specified. So first, what we have to do, this is the program. What I am taking here is, I am giving a value, passing a value to here one. Here prime of 49. I am checking whether this one is the prime or not. How I am going to check here? I am using a function, the prime function, is prime function, is prime of 49. So is prime of int a. So I am taking integer values into an account. I am using a for loop here, and I am taking if loop, if condition also to check whether these values what you are choosing here or not. If it is returning 0, what it is specifying, whether it is prime or not, I am specifying here. So if you go for this representation, is prime means the function is consisting of the means the highlighted one. So the highlighted one is the translated code or the target instructions of your function. So that one also called as the basic blocks. In previous sessions, I explained we need to take the basic blocks into an account. How we'll take means, we will specify all these things into account. So here next I is for loop. So how I am taking this for loop into an account here, I need to take the EX account, I have to take the sign extension, if it is not divided by 0, all these things came into an account. Whenever if it is dividing and whenever it is giving the values, then a percentage I means a value is 49, and percentage value, when you are dividing with this I, what you have to do, you have to get the value that is a 0. Whenever it is getting the 0, it is not the prime value. If it is not if it is not 0, it will get the prime value. If it is 0, it will get, it is not a prime value, like that it is specifying. If you see the code here is like that. So see ma, so if it is returning the 1 value, what it has to do, it has to be prime. If it is returning the 0 value, exact 0, when it will be the modulus, if it is exactly dividing, then it will return the 0 value. So whenever it is returning the exact dividing one, then it is specified as a not prime. If it is not returning value, So if it is returning the 1 like that, what it is specifying is, it is specifying it as a prime. So here, what you need to take first, how it is going to execute means, in the previous example and this example also, we saw how it is taking the this one binary translations into an account. So here we are taking the basic blocks. These basic blocks will be translated into the another one, because we need to take this one into an account. Is prime means simply we are taking is prime, move EAX into the $1 and then return is not the program here. So if you specify is prime into the specified one, what you have to do here is, we need to take the J, that is jump when greater than or equals to 1. I said JLE means less than or equals to 1. Here we are specifying, sorry, less than 1. Here we are taking jump GE. So that is jump greater than that is 0, that is 1 here. We are specifying. So all these things has to be taken into account. So we need to take this, we need to translate this one, and then next we need to chain the translations. Chaining means first one instruction, after that what we need to execute, after that one what we need to execute has to be chained there. So after that what we will do, we will place the calls and fall throughs. We take these things into an account and execute the functions what you are having. That's about your binary translation. The binary translation will take into an account that we need to execute. When we are executing your program, we need to take the source instructions into an account. While executing the source instructions, the indirect target instructions will come into an account while executing in this computations, while using a program, a device or anything. So first we need to find out what are the target instructions what you are having. To overcome this thing, what you are using, just we are specifying all these translations we are using in the full virtualization and host-based virtualization. After that, we are having the para virtualization. What is a para virtualization? This para virtualization will makes user to modify the guest operating systems what you are having. So in previous one, what you are choosing, there is no need to modify host operating systems, because you are allowing guest operating systems to access your memory spaces and then next any privileges what you are having. But when you are dealing with the para virtualization, it is only giving the virtualization concept at to some extent only, and how it is going to provide, it is going to provide to modify, that is alteration should be done to the guest operating systems. So how, so why you are maintaining all these things here? Here is, when you are executing a application, whether using the hypervisor or any VMM or anything, what you have to do is nothing but the guest operating system what you are using need to make the calls to this hypervisor. How they are making the calls to this hypervisor means, in the previous examples we have seen, that is in the previous sessions also we have seen the diagrams that we are placing hyper calls in between the guest operating system and monitoring operating system, that is the host operating system. Why we need to place the hyper calls? Whenever a guest operating system is trying to execute a program, it will try to execute the program at its level. If anything is not possible by this one, what it has to do is nothing but it has to place a hyper call that these instructions are not possible to execute by me because they are the non-virtualizable OS instructions. So here the OS instructions which are non-virtualizable has to be replaced by the hypercalls. Whenever we are executing in our system, we are placing the system calls. So we are using host operating system and guest operating system into an account. So that's why what you are specifying, we have to use a call between these two things, and we need to see whether they are executing in a manner or not. So that's why any direct executions will be placed directly to the hardware. If it is not allowed to take these things into an account, what these guest operating systems will do here is, it will go for the para virtualized guest operating systems model, and then next what it do here, it will try to place a hyper call. In this call, it will elaborately give these are the instructions I am not having to means accessibility to execute. try to execute these instructions from your side and give the output to me. Or if it is the end of that one, store by itself only. These the things we need to consider when you are comparing or when you are dealing with your that is the applications what you are using. So what is the virtualizing? Para virtualization says here is there is a need to modify your guest operating system. Why means we are not supposed to allow guest operating systems into your host to access all these things. So we are giving the chance to the guest operating system to execute by itself. If it is not having the possibility of executing some instructions, that instructions are named as non-virtualizable OS instructions. That could be, indeed, they could be the critical instructions only. So what we need to do, we need to take these instructions into an account and pass these instructions from guest operating system to the virtualization layer and then to the host-based computing or the host-based system hardware computer. So here, what you are using is, in the place of your things, we are placing hypercalls to execute them from your end and get the data and then process by your end. So these are the things we need to consider when we are dealing with the that is para virtualization. So in previous diagrams also I just mentioned rings. So what these rings are for? So we need to know what these rings are for. So here this ring is for the Xen hypervisor, VMM. So if you see what it is using, para virtualizer guest operating system. So it is indirectly specifying a hypervisor there. So what they will do here is they will take care of the memory management. So the CPU processing registers they are having, devices what they are connected, and also place the hardware traps also. So what the hardware we are using is Intel 86 is the hardware we are using. And then next, what is the ring one is doing? It is specifying the user domains. What are the domains? That is what is the guest operating system? Any code base is there? If it is modified, and it plays the hypercalls into the Xen VM. What it is doing? What it is performing here is it is allowing to paste these calls into this one. So the ring one is responsible for placing the hypercalls to these Xen or any virtual machine what you are using. While coming to this again ring one, what it is doing, it is also specifying management domain here. So that is the virtual machine management, HTTP interface. First we need to access the hypervisor to place these calls. All these things will be done. And then next we are having the ring 3. So the ring 3 is used for the user applications. User applications means in previous class we are having the application binary interface, that is a ABI. So what it is doing, it is providing library level virtualization. Means at ring 3 we are having some of the library files and they are mentioning clearly which are unmodified ABI. Means the library files what you are chosen here could not be modified by the guest operating system what it is using. Means they have the chance to get the privilege of accessing them only. So these are the things we need to consider when you are dealing with the para virtualization, and we need to specify how you are going to take the architecture into an account. To take this architecture into an account, first we need to see the problems which has been incurred with that thing. So the first one is the compatibility and portability, because what you are using, the guest operating system you are using and the host operating system you are using, you have been providing the same accessing, whether they are compatible to access or not, all these things into account. Then second one is you are maintaining the that is the cost of maintaining. Why you are maintaining this one here is you need to access, that is we need to provide and change to your guest operating system. That is you have monitoring the alteration there. So these alterations has to be kept into the mind. So sometimes it will be considered as a high. And finally, if you take the performance of this thing, when you are dealing with the different workloads, this virtualization what you are specifying will vary. So all, if you are using low workload one, the performance will be very high. When you are taking with this one, so it varies to due to these workload variations. So these things has to be considered when you are executing with this para virtualization. In this para virtualization only, we have an example, that is the kernel based virtual machine, that is which is called as a KVM. So the KVM is completely for the Linux based one. So here why we are using and what it is providing here is, this is the simple architecture of a KVM. So the first one what you see here is from underneath, what are the Intel 86 hardware we are using, and which is having virtualization extensions. Means you can hardware and instructions will support, memory extensions will support, processor extensions will support, all the things what it is having will be supported by this Intel 86 here. And then next we are having a Linux based environment which is having a kernel based one. So KVM is the kernel what you are using. So after that we are having at the right side the Linux applications what you are using in that environment. Okay, so this operating system is supporting this one, this architecture is supporting multiple will be there in the cascading form you are having. At this one we are having only two, that is a virtual machine. We are supporting Linux guest operating system. So you may use another operating system into an account, and you are also supporting Windows guest operating system. But there is a word underlying here is, which is the QEMU. What is QEMU stands for? Q stands for quick. Quick, EMU stands for emulation. Quick emulation. What is the emulation means? It isolates this operating system to take the advantage of executing its application in its own way. Okay, isolation. Isolation here is it makes to execute, it makes an environment to execute means as an individual. Isolation means, isolate means we are making it as a single one. Single means we are making to available as a one thing only. So we are isolating this thing from Linux or from any environment what you are choosing. So what the quick emulator or the quick emulation does here is, it will isolate this environment, not to depend upon this environment here. If anything happens, what it does here, the QEMU will be taken by this kernel. So if anything you want to access, means memory spaces, all these things what you have done, what you are providing will be given by the KVM here. Okay, so it has the accessibility to access the devices what it has been connected with this Intel 86, and it also providing an environment to gather the or to provide the resource sharing also. So what is the QEMU stands for? That is a quick emulation. What is the emulation here is, it is providing an environment to isolate itself from where it has been installed, but it is not depending upon the host operating system what you are using. It has its own way to execute or to deal with the applications what it is executing. So whenever you are having a problem with handling these things or that is accessing the things, the kernel will take care of all these things. It will allow the user to, that is a guest operating system, to take the access to the privilege of these virtualized extensions what you are having. So that's about your KVM. And we are having one example, para virtualization with compiler support. This is an example. This is example for the what you are using here is VMware ESX server architecture, which is using the para virtualization. So when we are discussing about the para virtualization, what it is doing, it is providing changes to your guest operating system we are using. So what are the things we are having in this ESX server? Or so it is supporting many guest operating system. For each and every guest operating system, it is maintaining a hypervisor, and also it is maintaining a console operating system for each and everyone as a group, and it is taking the schedulers, memory managements, and then next the disk drivers, and then the network connectivity, that is a Ethernet driver, into an account whenever dealing with that one. These all things will be handled by the virtual machine kernel what you are using. So what are the things we are specifying here is the hardware is consist of symmetric multiple processors here, which is having the Intel 86 hardware. So that is multiple processor are executing at the same time, and it is having the huge amount of the memory, and it is allows the disk drivers to execute, and then it also providing the that is network connectivity to provide all these things. So if you see this ESX enabled server has a 4 components. So the first one is the virtualization layer, and then next resource manager, and then next hardware interface components, and a server console. So here it has been divided into 4. So the first one is what it is having virtualization layer, this one. The virtualization layer is this one. And then resource manager means these are the resources what you are having. This has to be taken care by the things what you are using. And then next hardware, this one, this complete one has to be taken as the hardware interface components. And the last one here is the console, there is a service console what you are having. So to there is a performance degradation is there, because I said the performance is being degraded because we need to upgrade the guest operating systems what you are having. So to overcome this one, what you have to do is nothing but the employs a para virtualization architecture in this VM kernel. So what it is do, it will interact with the directly, it will interact with the hardware, and it is not using any operating system into an account. What it is taking, if you see previous diagram, in the Linux operating system, we are maintaining the kernel based virtual machine, but it is not taking this one into an account. It is taking the virtual machine, only the kernel based one. So when you are taking this one into an account, this VMM layer what you are providing will take the virtualization of the resources what you are using, CPU, memory, network, and then disk controllers, human interface devices. All these will come to an account without any control of the operating system what it is mentioned. So here we are also maintaining hardware interface components. So what are the hardware that is interface components are means there are the device drivers which are used for that is file system, and also it is providing the service console, the console OS. What it is for, it is responsible for booting the system and initiating the executions of your monitor and the resource manager, and if any control is there, it has to relinquish the control to those layers who are asking for that one. And it is also providing the access of or providing these system administrator to provide this access to the processors what you are having. So that's about your para virtualization, and that is a full virtualization, host virtualization. I hope you got the clear explanation about this binary translation with these 2 different examples what I have been explained in this class. And also we have seen the different types of virtualizations here. So we have the full virtualization and para virtualization. Full virtualization means what? We need to take these host operating system alteration is not the important one. What you have to, there is no need to modify host operating system, because what you are doing, there is an access to your if the host operating system want to execute the instructions, we are allowing to execute the instructions. If some of the instructions are not executed by it, what you are doing, you are simply allowing that thing to take care of means by the host operating system by placing the hypercalls or by doing the binary translations. Based on in full virtualization, we are taking the binary translation. In the para virtualization, what you are doing, we are modifying the guest operating system. That's the reason it's a cost effective one. We need to monitor the updations and alterations day by day, means eventually we need to maintain. And then next we need to take care of the hypercalls also, which has been placed for non-virtualizable operating system instructions. So what it has doing, it has a ring-like structures. Each ring has its own business, and then next it is going to take care of all these things, and it is also allowing the process, and it also giving the library level virtualization, which is the unmodified ABI. So that's about this class. So tomorrow I will explain the resources virtualization and also what are the things we need to for this virtualization. Thank you, ma'am.